my daughter got sick and was on life support, and I remember being in the hospital when she stopped breathing, so I kind of like went into shock.
That idea of coming to terms with the fact the end of life is near, and that is a major, major hurdle that we have to deal with and work with children and families.
Emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, all these ways, you are just taxed to the max all the time.
At first glance, things might appear normal and carefree for the Soje family, but they aren't. For Lena, all 3 of her daughters suffer from sickle cell anemia, a serious, chronic, and incurable blood disorder that is marked by severe bone and abdominal pain.
They get sick a lot. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Like, not all the time they go in hospital, but not all the time they could go to school because they get a lot of pain and they can't walk, so they are home. Sometimes we can't sleep all night. They would be just bawling, screaming, crying. So it's hard.
Lena's struggle has not only been an emotional and physical one, but also financial. Her husband, Patrick, suffered an aneurysm and has been unable to work.
My husband was sick and I was on maternity, and we had no food, no diapers, and all of a sudden somebody would come with boxes of groceries.
In North York, 18-year-old Emily Yescu continues her battle against a rare neurodegenerative disease called metachromatic leukodystrophy. Diagnosed with this life-limiting illness since the age of 10, Emily was not expected to live beyond 3 years. Her mother, Lindsay, is constantly by her side. She describes Emily's first symptoms.
Emily, who was always very upbeat and laughing and very engaged in life and high energy, would all of a sudden just in the middle of conversation or in the middle of doing some activity, she would just check out. And a darkness would come over her face where she would just stare, and I couldn't get her to hear me. I couldn't get her to be aware of anything. Ultimately, her brain cannot pass messages to the rest of her body to give any kind of command to any other part of her body.
Constantly in and out of the emergency rooms of hospitals, Emily has suffered several near-death situations arising from her inability to swallow, infections in her feeding tube, and bouts of pneumonia.
We had a very critical moment that occurred in the middle of the summer of 2008, where the doctors really felt that she could not tolerate feeds anymore. She was very ill and that she would not recover. And they actually sent us home from hospital and told me that I needed to plan a funeral and buy a plot and try and do all these things in advance, because when the time came to let her go, it would save us from being in crisis and having to deal with them. When I came home, I just couldn't plan a funeral because she was still alive.
At the renowned Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, Dr. Adam Rappaport is the medical director of Palliative and Bereavement Support Services. He works with many families with challenges similar to the Yescus, children whose illness can no longer be cured.
The focus of pediatric medicine has been on curative measures, and obviously something that's extremely important. But I think that it's really important to recognize the fact that we are unable to cure everything, and we have an obligation to make sure that those children and those families who are in this unfortunate situation can also receive high-quality care. Our sort of motto in pediatric palliative care is adding life to a child's years, not just years to a child's life.
Since 1995, the Philip Aziz Centre, a nonprofit charitable organization, has been providing comfort, support, and aid to families through their home hospice programs.
When parents hear the dreaded words, "I'm sorry, there's nothing more that we can do to cure your child," hospice steps in and says, yes, there is more we can do. We can still care, we can still comfort, and we can still support. Whether life is measured in days, weeks, months, or even years, children living with a life-threatening illness deserve the opportunity to dream, to play, to develop and to grow, to just be kids, and hospice can make this happen.
The support I have gotten from the Philip Aziz Centre, I don't think I could put a number to it. It's just so great.
We are so thankful for the Philip Aziz Centre. The way that they came into our lives within the first 5 minutes just showed me this was a place that we wanted to have a part in and be a part of, and I will forever be grateful for them.
Now, a new addition to the Philip Aziz Centre's hospice services is currently underway. A 10-bed pediatric palliative care facility named Emily's House. This is the first children's hospice in Toronto and the 6th in Canada.
The hospice offers a very nice bridge between the current two options of home and hospital. And the plans that I've seen for Emily's House, a very home-like environment, a comfortable setting for the child, but also for the family, that they can be there together with their child, that they're made to feel like they're at home. And I think that that's such a valuable third option for our children, which I'm very excited about.
It will cost about $7.5 million to complete the construction of Emily's House, with a target date of the fall of 2012 to open its doors.
I think Emily's House is an absolute worthwhile cause because we were so surprised to hear that Toronto did not have a hospice care option for children with life-limiting illnesses. The decision to pitch in and help was an easy one for us.
When Carol and I talked about this, we said we can really make a difference in an organization of this size. So not only did the opportunity touch our heart, but it also affected us by saying we can make such a difference for these kids.
I think it's just as important to make sure that we are also focusing on the needs of children and families who are unable to be cured. And I think that's why it's so wonderful that there are people out there who are seeing the value of putting their money into this type of initiative. And I know that Emily's House is going to be very much a part of that initiative.
They say it takes a village to raise a child. I say it takes a village to care for a child and family impacted by a life-limiting illness. Together we can provide that village. Together we can ease the burden, because together we care.
Help us provide palliative and respite care for children and their families. Please support Emily's House.